Yes, that is what? We just won Wyoming.
All right, news bulletin. We just won Wyoming.
Well, there's a devoted wife, tapping her husband on the shoulder, Jane Sanders, interrupting the senator, saying that he did win Wyoming last night, which now makes 7 of the last 8 nominating contests won by Bernie Sanders. But could his hot streak end in jeopardy in just 10 days from now? Take a look at the latest Fox News poll as they head to New York. It shows Mrs. Clinton beating Senator Sanders in the 2 upcoming primaries, both in New York, where she leads by 16%, you can see there, and also in Pennsylvania, where her lead's a bit narrower, but she's still ahead by 11%. Will he rack up more wins, or will he hit a wall come April 19th? With us now is Sanders supporter and comedian Amer Zahr, who is a surrogate for the Sanders campaign and joins us in the studio. Great to see you.
Well, thanks for having me.
So what about Wyoming, and do you think it'll last?
Well, it's just more of the momentum that we're building up in the Sanders campaign. We're really excited. We hope to go on, win New York, win a lot of other states, go to the White House eventually. But this is the momentum. This is the American people speaking. They want Bernie Sanders.
But can he, well, not everybody wants Bernie Sanders. Can he harness that with New York State? Look, she's adopted state, represented New York State in the Senate at the Inner Circle show last night. She came out to thunderous applause when Mayor Bill de Blasio and the whole political strata is supporting Mrs. Clinton, and not your guy.
Well, I mean, Bernie had a huge rally in the South Bronx about a week ago, 18,000 people. He filled up the Apollo Theater yesterday. I mean, the kind of people that Bernie is bringing to the campaign is so unique. I'll tell you, yesterday, I was at, I'm a Palestinian Arab American. I have a Christian dad, a Muslim mom. Yesterday, I was at a Muslim Americans for Bernie Sanders event in a synagogue in Queens. Okay, that is what this campaign is about. Diversity, new voters, all this excitement. So we're really pumped, and we think we can win New York.
Hey, that's New York City. Although he may have had a good night there. We didn't have a good day at the Daily News editorial board. I'm going to read you this. They had a scathing, as you know, editorial about their meeting with Senator Sanders, basically saying that he was no specifics. He was empty. Quote, "The results were not pretty. What we discovered is a candidate who was long on rhetoric and short on substance, who lacks policy chops. Even on issues that are core to his campaign, Sanders is not only creating unrealistic expectations about what any president can achieve, but he's also making it more difficult to find practical solutions." And Amer, you know the criticisms. It's pie in the sky socialist. He has no way to pay for any of this stuff. And all this stuff sounds good, free, but it's not realistic, and he has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to some foreign policy issues.
Well, I wouldn't characterize his campaign as free. But I mean, even as people have now rehashed that editorial board meeting with the New York Daily News, they've finally gone back and they've seen that Bernie was kind of right on most of the issues. He was factually correct on how breaking up banks works and that kind of stuff.
He didn't have the facts. And today's editorial, Sunday, criticizes him heavily for not having more substance, not just last week.
Right. Well, I mean, the New York Daily News, first of all, is a tabloid newspaper. It's not, necessarily the New York Times or anything like that. Not to be anything bad about the New York Daily News, but I mean, who knows what their leanings are when it comes to Bernie. But I will say this, that Bernie has put forward a lot of visions. Look, John F. Kennedy one day said, "Let's get to the moon." In his inaugural address, he didn't tell us all how we're going to do it, but it was a vision. He was a visionary, and same thing with Bernie. That's why we're following him. We believe in this campaign. We're proud to be part of the campaign, and we think we're going to take everything.
But what happens when we run up against that wall of superdelegates?
Well, the superdelegates, look, they don't cast their vote until the convention. The superdelegates were actually not very clear what they were going to do even in 2008 up until June or July. A lot of them switched. So we just want to get the lead and pledge delegates. We think we can do that with a lot of the delegate-rich states in New York. Remember, Bernie was down 20 points in Michigan a couple days before Michigan. Now they're saying he's 16 points down in New York. There's still 10 days to go before the election.
What does the operation do? How does that work? Try to pick these people off from Mrs. Clinton. You think it's really realistic that you can do that?
The superdelegates?
Yeah.
Well, I think the superdelegates probably will, I think they'll look at the end of the day when the convention comes around, when Bernie has more pledge delegates than she does, and see that he's just a better candidate. He's more likely to beat any Republican frontrunner in November, and we've seen that through polls. Bernie beats Trump by many more points than Hillary beats Trump.
What happens if it's the opposite? Do you see potentially him throwing it in and giving his support to Mrs. Clinton?
Well, he said as a candidate that he would support Secretary Clinton if she wins the nomination. I think it might be a little more mixed bag among the people who are supporting Bernie now, because he's bringing in so many new people who felt kind of outside of the process before. And many of us might see Secretary Clinton as part of that process that we were criticizing so much before. So we need her to understand us and really see our concerns and talk to them in a much less condescending way than she's been doing recently.
And finally, she is now ahead 16%. You know what? That's going to tighten up in New York. I mean, I've been covering New York politics for 30 years. It'll tighten up somewhat.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I know you're going to say that you think he's going to win, but having said that, he is getting some traction.
Well, look, I'm from Michigan, and I live in Detroit, and we were down 20 points in Michigan. She had a 99% chance of winning, and we ended up winning Michigan. In no small account because of the diversity that Bernie was bringing to the campaign, he ended up winning Michigan by a couple points. So we think we can do it in New York, too. We don't see any reason why not.
All right, Amer, Zahr, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to New York, and good luck with your stand-up.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.